Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow feelings of tension, stress, or worry to leave your body in your outward breath. I want you to get a sense that you're breathing in a resourceful feeling. If it's safe to do so, just allow your eyelids to close, knowing that with your eyes closed, you can give more of your attention to the sound of my voice. And the more you focus on the sound of my voice, the more you start to forget of all those other things going on around you. As you breathe in and breathe out, notice that you're going deeper and deeper. Relaxed now. Use the power of your imagination to imagine a bright, vibrant color that as you breathe it in, just entertain the idea that this bright color is a feeling of resourcefulness. And as you exhale, get a sense that worries, tension, stress, or guilt is leaving your body on your outward breath. Perhaps you perceive it to be a darker, shadowy color. Breathing in that bright, vibrant color of resourcefulness and exhaling feelings of worry, tension, stress. And therefore, in each and every breath, you're finding yourself going deeper and deeper. Relaxed. Now, that's it. Deeper and deeper relaxed. And I want you to tap into the power of your imagination. And I want you to recall yourself as a child. Maybe you can remember where you lived when you were just 2 years old. And you've read fairy tales of Cinderella and various other childhood fairy tales where maybe there was a fairy godmother that could visit these vulnerable, scared children that needed help. And I wonder what it would be like if you imagined yourself to be a fairy godmother. And I want you to imagine that because you're a fairy godmother, you have magical powers. And I wonder what it would be like for you to go back in time to that very house where you saw yourself as 2 years old, but I want you to imagine you're invisible. Maybe you imagine yourself in a fairy dress, maybe with a magic wand, but I want you to imagine that you're invisible, that no one can see you, and I want you to witness something specific. I want you to witness yourself as a worried 2-year-old, hearing something, seeing something, running down the stairs, perhaps feeling anxious and worried, and then observing as a male figure starts shouting aggressively. See the look of sadness or anxiety or shock on the face of that 2-year-old. Perhaps see that 2-year-old run back to their room. And then imagine that you are in the room just with them. Maybe they're crying into their pillow, maybe they're upset, and you're no longer invisible in this moment. I want you to see that child and reassure them that you are there to help. I want you to look into the eyes of that child and tell them that they are loved, that they are important, and that they are not responsible for the emotions of other people. You don't have to tell this child that you are them in the future. I just want you to let them know perhaps that you are their fairy godmother, that you are there to help them and will be there throughout their life. As a 2-year-old, that child was forming different ideas and beliefs about what things mean. But you're there just at the right time, and I want you to imagine that you're giving this child exactly the right kind of information that will help them throughout life. Maybe you just tell them that good, confident men don't behave in this way. Tell this child they're not to blame. And maybe use that magic wand of yours to give this child what it needs most. Maybe a feeling of deep confidence. Imagine just waving that wand and feeling that feeling of confidence move from the wand into the very heart of this 2-year-old child, restoring them with a feeling of confidence and calmness. And instead of seeing them cry into their pillow, I want you to see them sleeping with a confident smile on their face as you hug them and then say goodbye. And then imagine you wave your magic wand and you go forwards in time to a different time. I want you to imagine you're going forwards in time to when you see yourself to maybe 9 or 10 years old. Something's happened. And I want you to imagine that you're about to communicate to that 9 or 10-year-old version of yourself before you get beaten up, before you get put in a police cell. I want you to let that innocent child know what is about to happen so they can mentally prepare. And in doing so, again, tell them that they are loved, they are important. I want you to get a sense that sometimes just knowing what is about to happen means that the uncertainty is removed. I want you to hug this 9, this 10-year-old child. Tell them that they are important. Tell them that what's about to happen is unreasonable and unfair. And to give them the ability to follow and listen to their intuition, to have a sense of inner strength, confidence, and empowerment. And then imagine that you're then invisible again, and then see what happens as you see all the events unfold, but this time you see this child handled the situation differently. Maybe the violence is the same, but this time they feel stronger and more resilient, less affected by it. Maybe they do end up in a police cell, but instead of crying or feeling upset or scared, they sit with their thoughts, just listening to their intuition, developing a deep sense of strength, resilience, and inner confidence that comes from an idea that if they can deal with this as a child, they can handle whatever life throws at them. Observe this. Observe this child getting stronger and more confident. Spending time sitting with their thoughts, tapping into that powerful ability of intuition to give them insight and inspiration for significant decisions. Notice that when this child is filled with confidence They're not seeking security from other people, because that security exists within them. Appear in that police cell with that child, knowing what they've gone through. Maybe there's still bruises or other injuries. And again, hug this child, tell them they're loved. Tell them that you will be their protection, and that the way that you will communicate with them is through their own intuition. That you as the fairy godmother will always be there through their intuition. And you can see that calmness that comes on their face. A sense of confidence, that knowing that their protection is from someone with powerful, positive intentions and motives, not someone that has an agenda that wants to manipulate. I want you to tell this child that if they're strong enough to get through this, they're strong enough to get through anything. Give them a hug. Say goodbye, knowing that confidence within them is getting stronger and stronger, and that intuition is getting all the more accurate, that they know how to read when something is right and when something is wrong, and they're tapping into that infinite power within them. And then move forwards in time to when they're 15 years old. Maybe they're in a different house this time, but I want you to again be invisible as you observe a man strangling a woman, maybe waving a blowtorch in front of the face of a teenager, and realize that teenager is you when you were a child. After the chaos has happened, I want you to imagine you're alone with that teenager, no longer invisible, there as their fairy godmother. Give them a hug. Feel the warmth of them on you as you hug them. Feel that human connection that they were missing. Tell them they were loved, because they didn't hear that enough. Tell them they're important, because they are. Tell them they are not to blame for all the things that they've witnessed and observed. Because what was happening in this child's childhood was not their fault. It was a genetic lottery that they were born into this family, and they're not to blame for that. And then tell them that they have the resources to handle this, that they are wiser for this experience, that they're able to make different decisions based on this observation, and that this is not what a healthy relationship looks like. I want you to get a sense that they're listening to your words, they're taking them in. Wave your magic wand, give them that deep inner confidence that gives them a sense of security. Tell them they're important so that they get that feeling of significance from you, rather than from other people that just want to toy with their emotions. And wave that magic wand and give them the ability to strengthen their relationship with their own intuition, enabling them to make fantastic choices based on all the power of their subconscious mind. And as you do that, I want you to ask them if they have any questions for you. You know what their future is like. Answer any questions, but then ask them a question. And that question is, what kind of relationships would they really want as they get older? Would they want to be bullied, abused? Would they want something different? And I want you to plant a seed of an idea as to what a healthy relationship is in the mind of this child before they become an adult, before they form those significant relationships. I want you to tell this teenager that they are worthy of love. They are worthy and deserve a healthy, happy relationship. That their validation does not come from other people, it comes from within. That they are worthy no matter if they are in a relationship or not. Give them that confidence with your magic wand. Give them a hug, say goodbye, knowing that you've been there at key moments in their childhood to lay the foundations for ripples through space and time that will take the meanings associated to these significant events in their life to work for them rather than against them. And then there's going to be one final memory that we visit with the benefit of all your wisdom, experience, knowledge, knowing how this life pans out. And I want you to imagine seeing yourself when you're 24 years old, just before you're about to meet someone significant. And I want you to imagine telling this 24-year-old version of you all the things that happen over the next 20 years and the consequences of that, questioning their own thoughts, their own beliefs, telling them what's going to happen to them physically, emotionally, what it's going to do to their confidence and self-esteem, and tell them all of this, and tell them that they can't blame an individual because they allowed it to happen. The goal here is not to find someone to blame, but to strengthen the boundaries, to trust the intuition so that this individual knows how to make good decisions in relationships. They say forewarned is forearmed, and now this version of you knows what to expect, knows not to carry that guilt, that shame, that obligation of what other people say or do or what happens to them. Wave your magic wand, give them a powerful sense of inner confidence, self-belief, the ability to create and establish boundaries that keep them safe. The security comes from the boundaries that they build, not from the person that they're with. And then that final magic wand where they connect powerfully to their own intuition and are willing to follow it. And when all of these things are in place, then I want you to imagine that you're invisible again, and this 24-year-old version of you meets someone for the very first time in a parallel universe, in a different reality. And I want you to see how that version of you, with that deep inner confidence, knowing what the future could bring if they don't follow their intuition, I want you to see how they handle meeting the same person that you met, but with different resources and a different feeling inside. And perhaps in that reality, that relationship never takes place, because that version of you had that deep inner confidence. That version of you followed that intuition, wasn't manipulated by guilt or obligation or shame or anything. They followed their own path, and I want you to imagine that those resources exist in you now. Back in the present, you're no longer a fairy godmother. You are the version of you that has a lifetime of confidence, a lifetime of wisdom, a lifetime of experience, a lifetime of resilience, and a lifetime of being able to finally now trust your intuition. Tap into that feeling. Notice where that feeling of confidence and intuition is deep inside you. Expand it. Make that feeling glow and grow, and get a feeling that it exists now, firmly in the present and in your own personal future. Not in a different version of you, in a different reality, but your future now. Feel that resource, feel that feeling, and now know that you get to take control back of your life. That you will listen to your intuition, and you will have that feeling of confidence now deep within, knowing that you've built this confidence, you've earned this confidence. This confidence was forged through pain, through stress, through chaos. There's a saying that diamonds are only created through extreme pressure. And what if the extreme pressure that you've experienced in life has now created that unbreakable diamond level of confidence and self-belief within you? And now it's time to let that diamond shine. That other people finally get to see the real you, not the fake version of you, but the real you. And in doing so, you can let some of those barriers down, as you know now that the strength is now within you, not outside of you. As you allow these thoughts, these suggestions, these new beliefs to take root, that you are loved, you are worthy, that you deserve everything and more that perhaps you've missed out on in life. Knowing that you are open to good things and deserve good things. And now, as you listen to my voice, you realize that you feel like you're back in the present, no longer in the past, but firmly in the present, listening to my voice. That all of this has just been thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams, and actually you're listening to my voice firmly in the present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. As I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will awaken feeling resourceful, confident, fully connected with your intuition and willing to listen and follow your own deep insights. You will awaken feeling happy and ready to finally start a new chapter in your life, starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.